Mic check, mic check.
Move or turn off your phones, put them on silent or vibrate. If you'll all move up closer, please. We want to get our program started. Please join, grab a seat. Thank you, everyone. Would you pull over this way, please? Fill up the seats on this side. Thank you. We'll get started shortly.
All good, Calvin? How you doing? No, I got my own. Yeah, mine marked up. Yeah. All right. Good evening, all. Welcome. Thank you for coming to this wonderful remembrance of one of our, unfortunately, late great former faculty members, and that's Dr. Gerald Whitehead Deas. So thank you tonight for coming. I'll begin the program by asking Reverend Kirkpatrick Crowhall, pastor of Lenox Road Baptist Church and the chair of the Downstate University Council, to give us a prayer and reflection. Reverend Crowhall.
Thank you, Dr. Riley, and good evening, everyone. Hear these words from Psalm 90, verse 12. So teach us, O God, to number our days so that we may gain a heart of wisdom. The writer of this psalm does not simply ask for long life, but he asks for a wise life. Not merely days added to years, but purpose woven into every season of life. To number our days, to live them intentionally, to understand that time becomes meaningful when it is aligned with our calling. This evening we gather in gratitude and in reverence, gratitude for a life that was well lived, reverence for the sacred work of healing that Dr. Gerald Deas earned with his skill, compassion, and courage. There are some individuals whose vocation becomes their ministry. Dr. Deas understood that medicine is more than science. It is service. More than a diagnosis, it is with dignity. More than treatment, it's about relationship. And when our purpose is deeply rooted with our calling, longevity becomes more than the passing of years. It becomes the steady unfolding of impact. A life anchored in vocation does not merely endure, it expands. It shapes institutions, it transforms our communities, and it leaves imprints on generations. So tonight, as colleagues and students, family, friends, faith leaders, we pause not only to remember Dr. Deas, but to reflect on what it means to carry forward his legacy. Would you rise with me as we pray? Gracious and eternal God, we thank you for the gift of life and for the life of your servant, Dr. Gerald Deas. We thank you, O God, for the healing he brought to bodies, for the hope he restored to families, and the doors he opened to students, and for the bridges he built between institutions and communities. And as we gather in this place this evening, steady our hearts, comfort those who mourn, inspire those who teach, strengthen those who heal, and challenge all of us this evening to serve our fellow humans with integrity and compassion. May this hour not only honor his memory, but renew our commitment to the work that he loved so deeply. We give you thanks, O God, for a life that made a difference. Amen.
Thank you, Reverend Call. Please be seated. Good evening again, all. Thank you so much for coming for this memorial celebration. It is almost the end of Black History Week 2026, and we could not think of a better way to conclude Black History Week here at Downstate by honoring one of the greatest who walks amongst us and works with us. We gather not just as colleagues and students, we gather as a community he helped shape in his wonderful life and service. To the Deas family, I know many could not be here, but I know we will share this personally with them. We want to thank the Deas family for sharing him with us. Dr. Gerald Whitehead Deas was a significant member of the Downstate family. He helped define our character. He once wrote to an incoming class of medical students, listen to this, Rev, that the human heart holds more than 4 chambers. Now, in anatomy, we know it's 4 chambers, but listen to this. He went to the board and he drew it himself, labeling it with old wound patches, a thermostat, and a soft spot. It was very creative. It was also memorable. It was instructive. It was Dr. Deas. Because he was talking about something more and larger than just the anatomy. He was teaching that medicine is grounded in humanity. He believed empathy is not an accessory to clinical excellence. It is foundational to it. He understood that healing requires presence, that listening is clinical work, that compassion is discipline. He described himself as an old-fashioned country doctor while practicing in the heart of Brooklyn and his beloved Queens. He made house calls. He knew families. He cultivated trust. Patients experienced him as a steady presence. As one of only 3 African-American graduates in the Downstate College of Medicine class of 1962, he entered a profession that demanded resilience. He responded with excellence and quiet strength. He built credibility where it had to be earned. He practiced with dignity and expected dignity in return. And before he ever wore a white coat, he wore the uniform of the United States of America. Dr. Deas served this country as a proud Korean War veteran. As a young man, he answered a national call to duty. That experience shaped his discipline, his sense of responsibility, and his understanding of sacrifice. But most of all, Dr. Deas believed health begins long before the hospital. He believed that prevention is justice. Through his house calls column, through churches and schools, through advocacy, poetry, and the books and essays he authored. Some of his written works now reside within the collections of the Smithsonian Institution. Yet he never lost the local focus. He confronted inequities. He challenged harmful products. He reminded us that physicians must address not only disease, but the conditions that produce it. Here at Downstate, his partnership with the Arthur Ashe Institute for Urban Health continues to shape our missions. His legacy is active. It lives in our students, in our clinics. It lives in the communities he loved. So tonight's program reflects the many dimensions of his life: faith, scholarship, journalism, mentorship, civic leadership. And so as we proceed with the program, There will be a time for any of you to offer reflections beyond what we have prepared because we know Jerry was spontaneous. And we wanted to reflect that in this program. So again, I'll call Reverend Kohal to give a few brief remarks in his other capacity. He just spoke as a distinguished pastor, but now he's going to come back and talk about Dr. Deas in his capacity as the chair of the University Council of Downstate, which is appointed by the governor of the state of New York. So Reverend Kohal, one more time.
Again, good evening, everyone. It is an honor this evening to stand with you as chair of the SUNY Downstate Health Science University Council and to pay tribute to one of New York's great physicians, a leader, a medical activist, and bridge builder whose influence reached far beyond this campus. Dr. Gerald Deas, I believe, served with distinction right here at SUNY Downstate Health Science University for several decades, where he became a trusted voice in preventative medicine and community health. But for him, titles and tenure on, cannot capture his impact on the community. 27 years ago, in my third year as pastor for the Lenox Road Baptist Church, I invited Dr. Deas to be the keynote speaker on a Sunday morning. I'd heard about his work with urban youth and his advocacy for health and wellness, and I wanted the young people of our church to encounter someone who looked like them, someone who could share not just the story of overcoming, but of becoming a physician in an urban setting. When Dr. Deas arrived at the church, he didn't come as a distant academic or institutional authority. He came as a partner. He came as a listener. He came with humility and with purpose. He respected the sacred trust between faith leaders and their congregations, and he understood the power of that trust in shaping health outcomes. The Sunday that he came was not typical. We had a medical doctor serving as preacher in a Baptist church that morning. Dr. Deas brought with him, surprisingly, he didn't bring a Bible with him. He brought with him artifacts representing some of the barriers that our enslaved ancestors faced in their struggle for freedom, the physical barriers, chains, and all of the stuff. But it was a powerful reminder that the same resilience that carried our ancestors forward still lives within us. Years later, my daughter reminded me of how indelible the lesson was for her and her peers. On that Sunday after he spoke, and the Baptist church, after the preacher preached, we usually give an altar call. But there was no altar call given that day, as was our tradition. But we all understood that Dr. Deas was calling us to a broader freedom as people, a freedom that not only involves the soul, but the mind, body, and spirit. I had a personal conversation with him that same Sunday. And he shared with me that he encouraged medical students to treat their patients as human beings, as Dr. Rowley mentioned, not simply as cases or conditions. And when possible, he urged them to be a part of their training, that he urged them to attend the funeral services for the patients that passed. Why? So that they could witness the families and the communities from which their patients would come. That was classic Dr. Deas. teaching future physicians that medicine without humanity is incomplete. Dr. Deas understood something fundamental, that healing does not begin only in the hospital. It begins in homes, it begins in neighborhoods, and very often it starts in the house of worship. He believed we must meet people where they are, physically, spiritually, and emotionally. He did not wait for communities to navigate complicated systems. He built relationships that reduced barriers and strengthened confidence between institutions and the people they serve. Dr. Deas understood that faith based partnerships are not just peripheral to public health, they are essential to it. Through those partnerships, he expanded the reach of care and deepened the humanity of medicine. So, on behalf of SUNY Downstate Health Sciences University Council, I take this opportunity to honor his commitment to community centered leadership and to a vision of medicine that was both rigorous and compassionate. Dr. Deas did not simply serve communities, but he stood with them. He understood the pain of our communities. And so, for that, we say thank you, Dr. Deas. Rest in peace until we see you again. Thank you.
Thank you, Reverend Kohal. Wonderful. Um, as I mentioned earlier, one of the groundbreaking things that Dr. Deas did, amongst many things groundbreaking, was he became a medical journalist in the form of the written word and also via TV. So he was one of the first physicians in New York City, I think maybe even around the country, to really embrace how journalism and TV can provide communities health education. And so, what better way to be a part of this than to show a video that encapsulates a lot of what he did that was put together by our outstanding team in marketing communications. So, after the video, we'll then proceed with the formal tributes. And then, after the formal tributes conclude, we'll then have the open mic session. But please take part in this wonderful video that captures the work and the legacy of Dr. Deas.
Let each become all that he's capable of being. And I took that very seriously. Step right there, so we can see your face. Hi, my name is Dr. Gerald W, and I've been at Downstate for 52 years now. Way back there in 1958, when it was very difficult getting into medical school, I was one of two African Americans that entered that class at Downstate Medical College. And I have to give all glory to the wonderful teaching that I received there. Because, you only have a very short time in medical school, 4 years, to think about taking care of folks. I made it my aim to practice within the community. In fact, I lived 42 years at my office and lived upstairs, and I practiced downstairs. Practice of medicine was a very serious thing. And I can't leave my wife out because my wife was married before I went to medical school. And she was my standby for all these years. And she was right there with me all those times, all those years. In fact, we had 3 children along the way. She worked in my office. She worked outside of my office. But my wife is my arm and my heart. She took a lot to be married to a doctor that's on 24 hours a day. Little drinks, it costs a quarter. It's called porter water on the streets. Colors, artificial colors, and sugar causes hyperactivity in children. Severe hyperactivity. This thing was killing our children on the streets until I attacked. this company. When these kids drink this one thing, and why it stays green and blue, they put metabite sulfite in it. Metabite sulfite causes asthma. This company's out of business. I put them out of business because I had a bill passed to eliminate sulfites in these drinks. But I saw people eating laundry starch in obstetrics clinics. The obstetrician, who might have been white, didn't know nothing about Argo starch. Argo starch causes iron deficiency anemia, severe iron deficiency anemia. It's been on the market for 85 years. It's a holdover from eating clay in Africa. It's a very severe pica, has no taste, but when it gets into the intestinal tract, it chelates the iron. The iron is carried out with the stools, and the women go around with hemoglobin 6 and 7. So I got on to the media, television, radio. That's how you have to do it, magazines and things like this. And finally, I told them I was going to have a class action suit because the company knew that this box of starch was being eaten. Because when I went into the stores and shot 23 stories with the Mercury report, the starch was put in confectionery areas and not laundry areas.
Have you ever seen a black child?
Hi, I'm Dr. Gerald Deas from the Health Center at Downstate Medical Center. This story should be told all over the world, especially to young people who have any kind of disability, because what you went through, it wasn't just a disability of a blood condition. It affected the whole body at that time, and pain and things like this.
Muscular pain.
Muscular pains, yeah.
Pain. So
Yeah.
it wasn't just a blood disorder. You're right.
That's right.
So,
And all of a sudden, you go through 4 years of medical school, you got decent marks and everything, and everybody likes you.
Give him a kiss.
Being a nurse, we found out that you at an early age found something in your breast, and
And according to the studies that have been done so far, it indicates that non-white or Caucasians, they have a higher incidence of breast cancer.
I see.
But the mortality, meaning the death rate, is higher in people of color.
Today we're going to discuss a little bit about war. I served during the Korean conflict as such, and I became a dove after seeing all the devastation of what happens to human life. I wasn't a doctor at that time, and I wasn't even thinking about being a doctor, but when I saw casualties, the number of people that die in a war, it always comes to my mind, you only have one time to serve or be on this planet called Earth. Only once. Talk about doctor-patient relationship, and what do you expect out of your doctor when you walk in that office? Dr. Liverpool, it's so nice having you here.
Thanks for
Dr. Stephen
inviting me.
Liverpool, who has been here at Downstate Medical Center for how many years, sir?
I came here as a resident in 1990.
I want to be my own man. Don't want to be on loan, man. Can't stand the grown a man when I'm knocking at his door. I've been through hell, my friend. Never knew there was an end. That's why I could always grin getting up off the floor. Now, I'm not asking for your share. You don't even have to say you care. Just put the opportunity there, and I'll even up the score. Because I got to be my own man, got to follow my own plan, and if you care, you'll give a damn by healing up the sore. So come on and walk with me. Come on and talk with me. Tell me how it feels to be free, even if you're poor. Got to be my own man, got to build with my own hands, so we can call this our land and live together for more.
Wasn't that outstanding? Again, a salute to the outstanding team in marketing, and let's give them a hand. They put this together, guys. Thank you. Thank you. Outstanding. Um, and just simply outstanding. Thank you. I think that really captured all the essences of Jerry that we cherish and we recall. In addition to the video, we have a few video personal reflections of folks who wanted to be here, just could not be here. And so we have three. One is Cheryl Wills from New York One, who got to know Jerry very well through the TV work. Kristen Fain Mulroy she's the managing editor of the Amsterdam News. And as you saw, Jerry was a weekly columnist at the Amsterdam News. He had a regular health column that continued up until I think shortly after I arrived in 2018 or so, or 2019. But a very important part of his medical journalism was writing weekly for the Amsterdam News. And then the third will be Pat Imperato, who was in the medical school class of 1962 around that same time and remembers Jerry as a medical student. And as you know, Dr. Imperato is still very much with us as our Senior Vice President for Academic Affairs and Chief Academic Officer. So with these three personal tributes, and then we'll have some in-person tributes. But let's go with the video tributes now.
Sarah Wills here from New York One. I just want to say that Dr. Deas was a class act all the way. I had the privilege of knowing him for decades when I was a production assistant at Fox 5. I remember when he did the McCreary Report with the late, great journalist Bill McCreary, and Dr. Deas was a stand-up physician. He really cared about the people. He wanted to get the word out about healthy eating and healthy living. And it was an honor to be able to collaborate with him. And I even went out to his house in Sag Harbor. And this man was a leader and a great, great innovator. And I just want to add my condolences to all of you at SUNY Downstate. I know he touched so many lives. And I just want to end by saying Dr. Deas was the real deal.
I'm Kristen Fain Mulroy. I'm the managing editor at the Amsterdam News. And on behalf of myself, Eleanor Tatum, our editor-in-chief, and our entire staff, we wish to extend our love and massive condolences to Dr. Deas' family, friends, and loved ones. We were very sad to hear of his passing. I had the distinct pleasure and honor of being Dr. Deas' editor during the time that he had his House Calls column with us. It was such a pleasure to speak with him every week, receive his column, receive his wisdom, and just work with him in general. He was a wonderful, wonderful man. I also had the additional pleasure and blessing to be in the audience at the, I believe, 52nd commencement of SUNY Downstate when he received his honorary doctorate in science. I was there because my niece, Dr. Alexandra Fain, was in the 2019 graduating class. I was there to see her graduate, and I had the extra special pleasure of being present as well for Dr. Deas receiving that honorary doctorate. It felt like I was in a very special moment, bridging generations, able to see him receive his flowers and able to be there, to be present, and to be very proud that a member of my family is now carrying on Dr. Deas' professional legacy coming out of SUNY Downstate. So again, love and condolences and comfort to Dr. Deas' family, and wishing a love and light and protection to Dr. Deas' spirit. Thank you so much.
I would like to extend my sincere condolences to Beverly, Dr. Deas' widow, and to their children and other family members and friends. When Jerry entered the College of Medicine, he was a Korean War veteran, had an MPH degree from the University of Michigan, and had just completed an MS degree in biochemistry from Brooklyn College. He was several years older than his classmates, and we saw in him an older and experienced brother. He was by then a gifted communicator, a strong leader, and an activist on behalf of the disadvantaged. We immediately elected him as president of the class. After he applied to medical school, several weeks went by without his receiving an interview invitation. So Jerry hopped into his Nash station wagon at Brooklyn College and drove over to Downstate, where he headed for the admissions office. There he met the formidable Miss Shannon, who was the administrator for admissions. She told him that the faculty member who had reviewed his application concluded that he had fluctuated. Jerry replied by saying, "Miss Shannon, I'm a Korean War veteran. When under fire, you quickly learn when to go down and when to come back up." She laughed, but took what he said seriously. 2 weeks later, he received an acceptance letter. Jerry was one of 2 African American students admitted that year to the College of Medicine, the other being the late Dr. Leo Stewart. In our third year, another African American student transferred in, Dr. Richard A. Williams. Jerry did his internship at Kings County Hospital, where he actualized his commitment to both caring for the disadvantaged and placing them and their families on the path to wellness. His colleagues often did not share this holistic approach and referred to him as the great admitter, because when he was on night duty, he would admit large numbers of people who they thought could be treated and immediately sent home. But Jerry knew that he needed to spend time with them and their families to put them on the road to embracing prevention and helping them to address social and other determinants of health. Many years later, when I was asked to chair the Department of Preventive Medicine and Community Health, I immediately reached out to Jerry and asked him to join the faculty of the department. He became a very valuable member of the faculty who not only communicated public health messages in the classroom to students, but more importantly to communities via television, radio, print journalism, speeches, poetry, and musicals and plays. As he had challenged the chairman of the Department of Biochemistry when we were students for not providing students with a course outline and syllabus, so too did he take on corporate America, especially the Argo Starch Company, because their laundry product was produced in chewable cubes, which were often tempting for pregnant women to chew. This led to iron deficiency anemia in many of these women. Jerry's campaign resulted in their producing it in powdered form. In recent years, Jerry spoke to me about the work he did with corner grocery stores and bodegas in Brooklyn to move sugared beverages from the front of the store to the back. He also campaigned against the use of quarter water, a popular drink among school children who often purchase it after school. These drinks have virtually no nutritional value. Jerry was the recipient of many honors and awards. He often told me that he would take these awards with him when he spoke to primary and high school students about healthy lifestyles. He would give these awards to whoever wanted them in the hopes that they would serve as continuous reminders of what he had said about leading a healthy life.
So before we go to the in-person tributes, I would be remiss if I did not share the following. We have some pictures from the Deas family. We reached out to Beverly and the family, and they provided a wonderful series of photographs from their family time. So we will now show that before we proceed with the in-person tributes. We're very grateful to Mrs. Deas and Deas family for sharing those wonderful photographs. You get another side of Jerry that we sometimes saw the mischievous side. I saw a lot in those pictures, as you saw. But now we'll have the personal reflections in this order. First, Alethea Aline will be first, followed by Dr. Carla Booten Foster and Dr. Llewellyn Hyacinth.
Good evening, colleagues and friends. My name is Alethea Aline, and I am a program administrator in the occupational therapy program in the School of Health Professions. First, let me offer our sincerest sympathies to the family of Dr. Deas, and then say a few words about him, because, tonight we're here to honor the extraordinary life that he led. He was a trailblazer. And, his footsteps, that's, what widened the path for so many of us who follow. Dr. Deas was renowned not only as a Black physician, but as a trusted voice in our community. Many knew him from Channel 5 here in New York, where his house calls segment on the McCrary Report brought practical wisdom, compassion, and clarity into our living rooms. This might have been actually the precursor to telehealth, if you think about it. Talk about scaling health visits at home. This is to scale thousands and thousands of folks. That's where I learned the most important and powerful lesson that he was giving us. It was that food is medicine. It's not something I'd ever thought of before, but food is medicine. And he would say it plainly: eat healthy foods. And I'll paraphrase what I remember, because I think I was young when I heard it. So basically, don't eat Argo starch. Stop chewing ice for the crunch. Choose drinks without dyes. And of course, no soda. When I was younger, and this is about economics, I used to run to the corner store with 2 quarters, one for a barrel drink, which we called quarter water, and 1 quarter was for a bag of Bonton potato chips. I don't know if anyone remembers that. But after watching Dr. D's segment about the dyes in the brightly colored drinks, I never bought them again. And I would tell anyone who would listen. And later I would tell my children that these drinks were no good for developing brains. Now, if I glitch, I did drink a lot of quarter waters before I stopped. So I will reserve the right to use that as an excuse. Do I remember every scientific segment or explanation he gave on the show? No. I just remember the takeaway. The chemicals in these drinks will make you dumb. Anyway, I want to thank Dr. Deas because, this information, as simple as it may seem, saved 2 generations, mine and my kids. And that's what he did. He didn't just diagnose illness, he interrupted it. He planted seeds of wisdom that traveled from the television screen to kitchen tables to the choices we make for our children and for ourselves. I had the privilege of working alongside him here, serving on the Black History Month committee at Downstate. In fact, the first time I saw him talking about the quarter water again, I saw his hat and it said IDs. IDs. I kept reading it. IDs. IDs. And quarter water glitch. Of course it says ideas. I knew he was a celebrity and I was very excited. So, of course, naturally, every time he would see me, he would say, Do you have a minute? And of course I would. Make sure I had a minute to talk to him. Each year he would bring in artifacts of slavery, shackles, iron masks, stockades, and other instruments of torture. He would place them on the table before the students of PS 235, which is down the block. And yeah, you can usually see, these kinds of things behind glass at the Schomburg Center for Research in Black Culture and at the National Museum of African American History and Culture. You could see them. But with Dr. Deas, we could touch them and we could feel their weight in our hands. He made history tangible. He made sure we understood both the burden and the resilience of our ancestors, and that's the history that propelled him. Dr. Deas was a courageous advocate, standing up at many of our meetings here. He was a poet, a teacher, a griot. Whenever he saw me, like I said, he would smile and say, "Do you have a minute?" And of course, once again, he caught me. I would say yes. And it's because I wanted to learn everything that he was willing to impart. Um, you know, and I did it because we don't have a lot of time here. So I always gravitate to folks with wisdom. They say education is expensive, but wisdom is free. Toward the end of his tenure at Downstate, he would repeat the same stories again and again. Some might say he was forgetting he told me, but I've come to understand that he was actually remembering not to forget to tell me. He was reinforcing the longevity of these stories, making sure that they live on. Dr. Deas has gone to the great witness in the sky, but he lived the sacred tradition of our forefathers. He told our story, he protected our bodies, and he nourished our minds. And now the question he leaves us with is this: who will tell our stories now that he is gone? Of course, the answer collectively is we will. And who will tell our stories when we are gone? Dr. Deas taught us that his example, each one, reach one, teach one. And so it's all up to us now. It's our turn. So may he rest in paradise. And thank you.
Hello, good evening, everyone. I am truly honored to be here to share some reflections on Dr. Deas and some memorable moments with Dr. Deas. And I am truly blessed that these memorable moments span 3 decades. So my first memorable moment, and I'd like to share four with you, was in the late 1980s, and I was an undergraduate student, pre-med student at NYU, and we were wannabe MDs. And it was during a Black Science student meeting. And Dr. Deas was a celebrity to us. We didn't even know about house calls or the McCreary Report. He was just a celebrity to us. And students would stand in line to see Dr. Deas. And I stood in line to meet Dr. Deas, and I finally had a chance to meet him. And I went up to him like, "Hi, Dr. Deas. My name is Carla, and I want to be a doctor." And he was like, "Great, congratulations." He gave me a big hug. And he said, "Don't let that organic chemistry scare you." And that was the first time we heard that, because others had been telling us, "Oh, you're not going to make it because of organic chemistry. You're never even going to make it, because of organic chemistry." But he told us, "Don't let that organic chemistry scare you." The second memorable moment I had with Dr. Deas was when I was a medical student, first year SUNY Downstate student. Again, Daniel Hill Williams Society meeting, a long line of students waiting to meet Dr. Deas. So I went up to Dr. Deas. "Hi, Dr. Deas. I don't know if you remember me. My name is Carla. I went to NYU." And I don't know if he remembered me or not, but he gave me this big hug as if he'd been thinking about me since 1988. And this was 1990. And he gave me this big hug. He's like, "Oh, yeah, NYU, how's it going?" I said, "It's really tough. And I'm really tired, Dr. Deas." And he said, "Well, let me tell you a secret. Study hard, get a lot of exercise, eat well, get some sleep, drink plenty of water, and not that quarter water. I had been drinking a lot of quarter water. So, Alethea, yeah, I had been drinking a lot of quarter water. The third moment I had with Dr. Deas was I graduated from Downstate. Now I'm doing my residency. And I came back for a DHWS event. Again, long line of current students and former students and faculty waiting to meet Dr. Deas. So I stood in line again. I saw him like, Dr. Deas, I don't know if you remember me. And again, I don't know because Dr. Deas knew everyone. Everyone wanted to know Dr. Deas. And I didn't take offense if he didn't remember me. So I just assumed that why would he remember me? But again, oh, how are you doing? Welcome back. And he started asking me about students who were in my class. And he said, how's it going? I'm like, oh, Dr. D's residency is so hard. And, I feel like I don't know anything. And he's like, make sure they treat you with respect. And again, as a resident, you don't expect to be treated with, this was back in the day. Things have changed. But back then, to be told that as a resident, you should be treated with respect. My last memorable moment with Dr. Deas was, I believe it was 2016 when I came back to SUNY Downstate. A long line outside of Medical Grand Rounds waiting to see Dr. Deas. I went up to him. Hi, Dr. Deas. My name is Carla. I don't know if you remember me. I was a medical student here. He was like, how are you? And again, asked me about my classmates. And he's like, what's going on? What are you doing here? And I said, well, I was just recruited as the Associate Dean for Diversity, Education, and Research. Gave me a big hug and then came closely and said, what are you going to do about the number of Black and Latino males in medical school? Dr. Deas heard the assignment. Dr. Deas accepted the assignment. Dr. Deas understood the assignment. And I am blessed and fortunate, and we all are blessed and fortunate that he completed the assignment. Thank you.
Hello, good evening. I'm Llewellyn Hyacinth. Thank you. On behalf of the membership of the Provident Clinical Society of Brooklyn, I would like to thank SUNY Downstate for allowing us to participate in the celebration. I'm joined by our Vice President, Ramon Gist. The Provident Clinical Society is the local Brooklyn affiliate of the National Medical Association, or NMA. Founded in 1895, the NMA was yet another parallel institution or organization founded by Blacks for Blacks who were excluded by national organizations, in this case, the American Medical Association. The local student NMA chapter here at Downstate is named in honor of one of the founding fathers, Dr. Daniel Hale Williams. While no explicit ban against Blacks, Jews, women, and other marginalized groups was ever verbalized at the national level, the AMA adopted a policy of deferring such issues to the local chapters. 2 years after Gerald W graduated from medical school here at Downstate, the Civil Rights Act of 1964 eradicated this AMA exclusionary loophole, at least by law. But the healthcare inequities exacerbated by the systemic exclusion of providers of color caring for marginalized communities of color persist to this day, which is why the Provident Clinical Society would like to acknowledge the service and legacy of Gerald Whitehead Deas, MD, MPH, and other titles captured by an array of alphabets too numerous to expound on. These titles point to a life of achievement and service, which centered on his tireless effort to combat the entrenched healthcare inequities of the communities of color throughout the city of New York. We're grateful for the impact he's had on the membership through the years and acknowledge the profound impact he's had on colleagues he's worked with and mentored, as well as the residents and students he's trained. Dr. D's mentorship was impactful for Dr. Gist when he joined the faculty here at Downstate. Additionally, our secretary, Mona Lisa Muchada Tuta, who was an ER attending here, was a Downstate recipient of the scholarship in Dr. D's name when she was a medical student. The Provident Clinical Society of Brooklyn extends our deepest condolences to the Deas family And we join the countless number of individuals and organizations in thanking the Deas family for sharing this extraordinary man with us. Thank you.
Beautiful tributes that really, again, capture the impact that Dr. Deas had on all of us in our community. So now it's open mic time. We wanted to, in the spirit of Dr. Deas, give anybody who feels the spirit to come forward and give a brief tribute to him. So we thought this was, again, very fitting to honor Jerry. So first, Dr. Libyan. Dr. Libyan, thank you.
I am Dr. Jenny Libyan. I'm chair of the Department of Pathology. And 33 years ago, I remember being in one of the lecture halls that you saw in the photo, I think lecture hall 2. And in those days, we had a class called Preventive Medicine when Dr. Imperato was chair of that department. And we not only learned about pica and eating laundry starch and Alicia, eating ice itself is not bad. It's that it's a sign of iron deficiency. So eating it is okay. But if you have it, you should get checked. But in, but I want to say two things. And one is that I think he was wearing his baseball cap, but also wearing his tie. And for those of you that were medical students at that time, we also were taught by another great physician, Dr. Hugh Carroll. But when Dr. Carroll was teaching, you could not wear a baseball cap in the room. It was a sign of disrespect. And so everybody was a little scared. But Dr. Deas he made you feel that your teacher was your friend, and you felt this warmth from when he was teaching you. And so I remember that difference, maybe signaled a little bit by the hat. And then number two, when you saw about the eating of laundry starch, he noticed it in his patient in the waiting room. And he taught us not only about the facts of pica, but he taught us that you have to pay attention to people, that patients are people, and their life doesn't begin in your office, that their life and the taking care of them is about where they shop and paying attention. And I think that's part of what I took from his lessons. Thank you.
Hi. I want to give set condolences to the family, and just know that our prayers are with you. In this time of sorrow and celebration for Dr. Deas. I got to know Dr. Deas when I first arrived in New York from residency in Rochester, New York. When I first arrived, somebody sent me an email or something, asking me to review Dr. Deas' book. If you don't remember, please don't forget, or something like that. I don't remember the exact name. But that actually ended up being my very first publication for what was to become a faculty member, an academic career. And, what really struck me about all of what I have seen and the life of Dr. Deas is the message is about primary care, really, that when I went there, that email said that he is a family physician, which is what I am. But when I arrived there, I realized he's a general internist. But all the things that he was doing are very much in keeping with what a primary care physician does and the principles and practice of primary care. I just jot down a couple just as an example. The country doctor, he called himself a country doctor, which is exactly what, that Marcus Welby thing is actually it's like our model. actually. How do you take that and bring it into the modern world and put the technology, the patient-centered medical home and things like that we have, which are just ways of becoming a country doctor in this world. That's basically what it is. The neighborhood practice, living there. When I went to his house to do that review, to interview him, I realized he is living in the same house upstairs or something, and the practice is on the first floor. I had no idea that I later did the same thing in Rosedale, Queens, living on the second floor, and my practice on the first floor. The connection between public health, individual medicine, and population health, which he embodied. There is no such thing as a separation between what the doctor does in the community and what the doctor does in the patient in front of them and what he does for the population. That's just an artificial thing that came up in the age of specialization in the 1940s and 50s. That the original doctors, really, that was the same doctor. And that's what he embodied in his work. The idea of house calls, which is very much something that is a key part of family medicine. Being on the front line, the first doctor that patients go to see, doctor of first contact. He prided himself on that. But making the connection with science, and bringing all that to the patient in front of you, in the context of their family and the community. Very much a Dr. D's thing. The biopsychosocial. I mean, when I went to his house in 1989, these principles were just being espoused at that time. Matter of fact, George Engel, who was at the university where I was, in University of Rochester, had just developed that thing with his colleagues, about biopsychosocial. I'm proud to say that here at Downstate, in the BBL course that I teach in the first year, biopsychosocial is the very first session, and we refer to it several times over the course of the academic year. So his work and the work of all these people in this area has lived and has an indelible mark. The idea of media training, that's something that is very much part of what we teach. So, the focus on prevention, and you can go on and on. So really, I just hope that some of that legacy of Dr. Deas can be captured, in the work of Downstate, that it not just go away and it's all specialization. No, somebody has to be the patient's personal doctor. And that's what we are. That's what he spoke about. And that person should take care of them within the context of their family and community. Thank you, Dr. Deas.
One word has come up time and time again today and has been a part of my reflection on Dr. Deas, and that is connection. Connection, connection. When he spoke, when I was a medical student, his stories of how he connected with the community, with his patients, how he connected with the students that he came in contact with, made them feel as if he was listening to them. This is an example that we will all cherish. But that connection goes beyond even that. I remember the story I told at his funeral service. It's a Tuesday, like any other Tuesday. It's a little cold out, and for some reason, I reached into my closet, and instead of putting on my wool hat, I saw an Ideas cap that he had given me just sometime in the past. And I put it on, and I walked around that day it had been decades since I had seen him. It was the next day that I found out that he had passed 2 days earlier. This is the kind of connection we have to embrace, that there is a call, that if he was here, we would feel his love. We saw it time and again, his compassion, his connection, but also his challenge to us. What are we going to do today, tomorrow, in the coming time that we have on this earth to just fulfill what his commitment was and to just live every day for that connection, which is the only thing that's worthwhile in this world? Well, thank you.
Hello. My family's a prime example of Dr. D's impact on the public. My brother had asthma really bad as a kid, and I was an immigrant here from Trinidad, West Indies. And I was always upset because it felt to me as a kid that every time when we went out to do something fun, he would get an asthma attack and everything got canceled. And I don't remember Dr. D's from the Mercury report, though I do remember it. I remember him from Gil Noble because my mother used to make my brother and I sit down in the middle of the living room. Beautiful summer day. We had to sit down in the middle of the living room and listen to Gil Noble. And on is Dr. D's talking about the quarter waters, which my brother was very fond of. And my mother heard asthma. Oh, yeah? So that was the end of it, as far as she told us. But my brother would sneak to the corner store for his quarter water. Well, I ratted him out because I did not want him stopping our fun. And that was truly the end of quarter water. So thank you, Dr. Deas. My condolences to his friends and family.
Good evening, everyone, and to Dr. D's family, my sincerest condolences. My name is Tanya Taylor, and almost 17 years ago, I was fortunate enough to join this incredible community, and Dr. D's found me. And where's Alethea? And, do you have a minute? Do you have a minute? And I was there listening. I wish I had the pleasure to have been his student. And I was to a certain extent. We would nerd out and talk about health communications, and I'd ask him about his show and about, I didn't quite realize that almost 17 years later that my work would actually circle around to what he started out. And I really wish I could bend his ear and to talk about preventative medicine, food is medicine, all the things that I realized over time that I was learning from him, especially the importance of how we communicate this important information to the broader population. And so I'm here just because this man touched my life, and I'm so deeply sad that he's not here. And he had a real impact on me. And I hope in some small way that I can be one of those individuals who will continue in his footsteps. Thank you.
So again, thank you for those open mic tributes. Again, that really just capture the essence of the great man that we're here to honor. So again, thank you to all of you who've come out to share this wonderful evening. As you can see in what you heard is that Dr. Deas did not separate scholarship from service. He did not separate medicine from justice. He did not separate excellence from empathy. He integrated them. He served his patients. He served his students. He served his community. He served his country. And he proudly served Downstate. I was delighted to confer upon him the Honorary Doctorate of Science degree at our 2019 commencement, as you saw and heard earlier. It was a very special moment for this community to recognize greatness within us. Again, to the Deas family, his imprint on this university will endure. He strengthened our conscience. He expanded our sense of responsibility, and he will never be forgotten. We are grateful for the life, the work, the legacy, the passion, the advocacy, the humor, the sagacity of Gerald Whitehead Deas. So thank you for coming. We have some exhibits next door in the Hall C, right? We have some light refreshments. I want to salute the two people who made this possible. Dawn Walker, our Vice President of Communications and Marketing. Great job, Dawn. And Dr. Carla Booten Foster. Stand up, Carla. It takes a village to have wonderful events like this, and then a great team from communications and marketing. Outstanding video tribute. Thank you, thank you. And Dr. Deas would end on these words: go out there and do good work. Thank you very much.
I know some of you, yes, I know some of you have been hesitant to come up. There's a young man behind the wall there. If you'd like to record a message for the family, please see Nile. Nile, please raise your hand somewhere. Where's Nile? There's Nile. Nile will help you to record a message that we'd like to get to the family. Thank you all for coming out. And please, don't forget to sign the book on the way out. Thank you so much for coming.